I find all the people in the comments that have repeatedly said that I'm an AI and not a real person hilarious. I guess ChatGPT just needs to hire me to be a voice actor, for real. Anyways, I want to turn this dripstone pillar into a house with like a watchtower on top of it. So yeah, while we're doing that, I've got some pretty scary Reddit stories to read today. Let's go ahead and get started with the first one. It's from r/scary stories from Trash Tia. I'm pretty sure the boy I'm dating is AI generated. He's cute. That's the first thing that hits me as he enters the small coffee shop. He's tall, kind of like he's been molded by a surgeon's hands. A soul stuffed inside a perfect, borderline creepy mannequin with bright blue eyes and not a flaw in sight. He's every woman's dream, every YA book cover hottie. Bedroom hair, unbrushed, tousled, and unkempt. His clothes are season appropriate, a trench coat flung over jeans and a tee. But what really takes me off guard is his over-the-top grin, dimples perfectly etched into sculptured cheeks. He looks like he's laughing at a private joke, lips stretched into a wide, grinning smile. Too fake. His jaw would have given out by now. Pearly white teeth that are almost too white. His demeanor reminds me of every romance movie I've ever seen. The smile, the wink, the confident and yet slightly awkward stride as he makes his way over, well aware that he's attracting stares and loving every second of it. I've already made up my mind before he plonks himself down opposite me and confidently orders a macchiato. Hi, he introduces himself as Jude. It's hard to take him seriously. Jude. Even his name sounds like a product, as manufactured as him. He runs a hand through thick, perfect curls. Again, he knows he's being watched, knows he's the prettiest belle at the ball. He leans forward, chin resting on fist. He doesn't expect me to speak, doesn't even wait for me to respond. He comes with a script, already knows my responses, judging by my expressions. This man already knows me through and through. This man is 100% with zero doubt AI generated. He still smiles, still pretends. Were you waiting long? I smile back. Yes, I say, testing his responses. He's expecting me to say no, to lie, to tell him. Oh no, I wasn't waiting for 15 minutes. I actually just got here. But I don't. I grin and let my words hang in the air. He's not used to them, used to a girl insulting him, even if it's subtly. For a moment, I see his facade glitch slightly, lip wobbling, like for a second he's about to go off script. Somehow, he blinks away his confusion, smile widening. Well, I'm sorry, he says. This man knows exactly how a woman's mind works. He's been programmed with every possible reaction I'll have and a predetermined response for it. When he leans across the table and takes my hand, I inwardly flinch. You're freezing cold, I say, tugging my arm back. Of course he's freezing cold. His skin is artificially made, a synthetic strip of animal flesh stretched across a real human skeleton. His blood is an acidic solution, a battery that powers his heart. His brain is circuitry and code. He already knows everything about me. His every response will be cherry-picked to be perfect. I curl my lip. When synthetics were first introduced by Meta, artificial intelligence cruelly built over a human corpse, there was mass panic. Ethics questions were raised as Meta shamelessly built their factories across the globe. Dead bodies. They were using dead bodies and calling it recycling. We called it murder. Real human skeletons were being used as framework, stripped down and repurposed. Then they were released. The very first versions. They looked exactly like us, talked like us, breathed like us, laughed like us. They were so lifelike, so unapologetically human despite imperfections. So eventually our walls crumbled and we began to treat them like us. Then when they began to brutally kill people, immediately going rogue, they were canned. AI synthetic humans lasted around a year, and I was still terrified of them. Jude shrugs off his jacket, like he really wants me to see how jacked he is. I ignore his shirt lifting up slightly, revealing toned muscles. The woman sitting beside us already taking photos. I downed half my iced coffee. You're AI, aren't you? I say casually, and his eyes darken. Jude laughs. He blinks, like he thinks I'm joking. I'm sorry, what? Prove it, I say. Jude folds his arms, his lip curling. Fine, I'll play your game. What are you, like the damn AI police? I copy his stance, resting my fist on my chin. When were you born? Jude copies me, his smile challenging. He gets closer. His breath smells like peppermint. 2001. Do you want my full government name too? He doesn't have one. What he does have, however, is a fixed name and reference number. Your earliest memory, I demand. He frowns, tipping his head back like he's thinking. The man is perfect at mimicking, at learning basic human traits, human behavior. He's a natural at this. He knows how to play cocky, play unsure, play dumb. Oh, Jude, you are good, but not good enough. He's pretending to think about it, but he's had the answer all along. Built from thousands of possible memories coded inside his brain. Probably the time I projectile vomited funnel cake all over my mom when I was 7. I don't believe you, I say. Believe what you think. He rolls his eyes. Does he think I can't notice that his right eye gets stuck for a second? He's good at talking, sure, but he still needs to work on his demeanor. I'm not AI. He shoots me a grin. He's still being cocky, still thinks I'm going to let it go. I'm just naturally attractive, dude. I shrug. Then let's go prove it. His smile tightens. Panic creases his face, twitching between his lips. We both know what proving it entails. I thought this was a date, sweetheart. His stupid grin turns bitter. He leans back. I can tell he's weighing different reactions, different moves, different responses that I will give. Sweat beads on his forehead. Synthetic sweat that smells of bleach. Not an interrogation. I pull out the handcuffs I've stuffed in my jeans and cuff his right wrist before he can even think about running away. His eyes widen. What the hell are you doing? He tries to dive from his seat and is violently yanked back. I struggle to remain stoic. There's nothing I enjoy more than capturing AI synthetics. Please, he hisses as I drag him from the coffee shop. He stumbles over, no longer calm and confident and cocky. He's scared. His responses can't come out delayed. Panicked. His brain is overheating. I'm not AI, I look like AI. Listen, man, I can't help looking like this. I stuff him into the front seat of the car. And this time, he twists to me, lips curled into a snarl. I can almost pretend he's actually human. This is kidnapping, he whispers as I start the car. AI synthetics don't count, I tell him. You knew the rules. If we see someone who looks even slightly uncanny, we can take them for detection. The car flies forward, and he almost rolls off the seat. You're a monster, he grits through his teeth. I don't look at him. If you're 100% human, I'll apologize. But detection means, he let out a choked sob, his last-ditch effort. It's all just nonsensical garbage he's picked up from his melting down mind. Which I'm not falling for. Listen to me. My name is Jude Clare, he whimpers. I'm 24 years old. I went to college to study creative writing. I have a dog named Peanut. My mom's name is Katerina. He shuts up when I pull outside an AI detection center. Jude freezes up in his seat, bringing his knees to his chest. I can already hear screams inside, a shiver creeping through me. I grit my teeth and pull him out of the car. I hope you have a lawyer, he spits as I pull him through doors that slide open. The smell hits me first. A metallic tinge hanging in the air. There's nothing inside this center but a single machine that takes up the entire room, and a bored-looking security guard holding an iPad. The machine towers over me, a large humming metallic beast. I pretend not to see bloodstains being scrubbed from the white tiles. No. Jude stumbles back, the cuff sending him springing back to me. I drag him to the security guard, pasting on a smile. I'm pretty sure my boyfriend is AI generated, I say confidently, ignoring Jude's sputtering. Boyfriend? The guard takes one look at Jude and nods. He takes out his gun and points it at my date's head. Sir, kindly proceed within the machine for immediate AI detection, he states, his tone devoid of emotion. Please be advised that AI detection is exclusively intended for synthetic skin only. Humans entering the AI detector will be subject to automatic dismemberment. I'm not AI, Jude screamed, agony and frustration bleeding through his carefully crafted tone. "Step inside, sir," the security guard says. "I won't ask again." Jude hesitates before turning to me. He doesn't speak, doesn't cry out, but I know exactly what he's thinking. I uncuff him, and he's shoved forwards. The doors slowly slide open, and he staggers inside. When the door slams shut, I allow myself to exhale in relief. And then his screams start. Wailing, sobbing, pleading. I squeeze my eyes shut at the sound of blades stripping the skin from his bones and drilling directly into his skull for traces of AI. But I know he's not AI. I don't even look at the screen that I know flashes green. 100% human. I find myself standing in his blood that seeps from the door, staining my shoes. The security guard doesn't speak when the doors open. A cleaner rushing inside to disinfect the blades slicks scarlet. I walk back outside with names inside my head, memories I mimicked, learned. My mother's name is Katarina. I was born in 2001. I have a dog named Peanut. My earliest childhood memory. I vomited funnel cake on my mother when I was 7 years old. I was going to ace the Are You Human exam. Holy, I did not suspect that. That's like the plot twist of the century. The top comment on the story says, "Nuh-uh, nope, oh, screw this." I'm right there with you. Oh my gosh. The next story is also from r/scary stories from user Twisted Urban Tales. I left a group trip early. When my friends came back, something was very wrong. A couple of years ago, I saw a guy wearing a jester costume as I was walking home. It wasn't creepy, just very awkward. He was holding a stack of leaflets, trying to hand them to people who were clearly avoiding eye contact. It was too colorful and over the top. The whole thing just screamed try hard. I almost walked past him like everyone else, but then he stepped in front of me and held one out. Hey, step right in. The fun starts when you arrive at Blue Carnival Island, he said in a goofy voice. I frowned at him. Sorry, he said quickly, dropping the voice immediately. I know it looks weird. If I don't hit a sign-up quota, they'll make me wear the hat too. Damn, that's unfortunate. He cringed slightly. I looked down at the leaflet. Blue Carnival Island Experience, sponsored by... The logo of an energy company sat beneath the title. A holiday? I said. Yeah, he smiled, still a little embarrassed. Group trip package. Got flights, accommodation, the whole thing. It's actually, really good, to be honest. You don't sound convincing. I'm better when people don't look directly at me, he said with a grimace. Ruins the illusion. Then he smiled. Not a ridiculous smile this time, just normal. I laughed despite myself, and we continued talking on the street for longer than I expected. We started texting that night. His name was Matt, and he was very easy to talk to. At first, we just made jokes about the costume, then it turned into longer conversations. Hobbies, life, all sorts of stuff. A few days later, we met up again in town. He wasn't wearing the costume, and I couldn't help noticing he was actually pretty good looking without all the powder and makeup. We talked over lunch for a while, and as we were finishing up, he asked if I'd given any more thought to the trip. I do need to get paid. Remember, no pressure, he grinned. After a bit more banter, I finally asked him for the actual details, and he began explaining the arrangements. I get a bonus if the group stays together, he said at one point. That's, kind of their whole thing. He hesitated for a second. It's a structured experience. Probably just one of those all-inclusive trips where you meet new people and end up staying in the same hotel, I thought. A week later, I signed up. My friends Chloe and Tyler were coming too. I convinced them it would just be something we could post about after and laugh over drinks. When we arrived at the bus station, I was surprised to see about 60 of us, possibly more. There were families, couples, and a few older people. Matt arrived in full costume, bouncing between people, high-fiving kids and hyping everyone up. It all felt fun at the time. Then, when he caught my eye in that dumb costume again, he smiled in a way that made everyone else blur out for a second. "Sarah, you made it," he said when he got close. "Of course, I'm your best recruit." "Not even remotely true," he smirked, "but I'll pretend it is." Before boarding, he gathered everyone together. "All right, everyone, just one thing," Matt said, clapping his hands lightly. "When we get there, it's really important you stay with the group. Don't wander off on your own." "Why?" someone asked. He hesitated just for a second. Wouldn't want anyone getting lost. Everything was normal until Amsterdam. The flight to the island was delayed overnight. Matt handled it almost instantly, booking hotels, reorganizing transport, and keeping everyone calm. I had to admit, it was impressive, if anything. Chloe joked that he should quit and get a real job. He just laughed it off nonchalantly. At the hotel, everything felt like a temporary inconvenience. People were drinking in the lobby, making the best of it. I went to see Matt. His room was almost empty. There was no suitcase and no clothes scattered around, just a bag on the chair. "You sure travel light," I said. "I don't stay in one place long," he replied with a grin. I laughed at that, and we continued talking in his room until the sun went down. That night, I woke up to knocking on my hotel door. Loud, urgent. I blinked as I opened it, still half asleep. Matt was standing there, but not like before. No costume, and he wasn't smiling either. He looked pale and tense. "You need to leave," he said firmly. Something was very wrong. "What?" "I booked you on a flight. It leaves in an hour. You need to go now." He shoved a plane ticket in my hand. I just stared at him. "What are you talking about? What about everyone else?" "I'll handle it." "No, Matt, what's going on?" He stepped closer and looked in my eyes, shaking his head. "Sarah, I don't have time to explain. You just need to trust me." "Then tell Chloe and Tyler, I said I'll handle it." Silence. My heart pounded. He just looked at me like he was trying to memorize something. Then he kissed me. Not gently or slowly. Desperately. "Just please go," he said quietly. I wish I could say I argued with him and demanded answers, but I didn't. Something in his voice had changed. The easy, joking tone that he normally spoke with was replaced by a terrified urgency. I packed up quickly, hands shaking. The hotel room suddenly felt unfamiliar, and every sound in the hallway made me flinch. The airport felt too bright and normal when I went back in. I moved through it as fast as I could, checking my phone every few minutes, waiting for a message from Matt explaining what was going on. Nothing came. On the flight home, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face at the door. He looked like he was trying to hold something back. I kept replaying it in my head, trying to figure out what he hadn't said. When I got home, my family asked me while I was back from the trip early. I told them I was feeling ill and decided to cancel. The easiest explanation. I texted Chloe and Tyler too, telling them the same thing. For a moment, I worried they wouldn't reply, my mind jumping to worst-case scenarios. But then both of them messaged back a day later, telling me to get better soon. Chloe texted again after a few days. "Made it. Island was amazing. You missed out. Hope you're feeling better now." I was confused. Everything seemed normal after they got back. But the look on Matt's face that night certainly wasn't. For a while, I just let it sit. I didn't really know what to make of it. Matt and I stopped texting after that night, and I didn't reach out either. I wouldn't have known what to say even if I tried. Chloe and Tyler kept asking me about Matt, but I brushed it off every time. They probably thought we had an argument in the hotel or something of that sort. I don't know how to explain what really happened there, so I didn't. Then a few weeks later, something began to feel off about Chloe. Not enough to point at, just small things. She laughed at the wrong moments and forgot details she shouldn't have. I only noticed because I'd known her for years. Tyler's change was more noticeable. He was still him, just quieter and flatter in general. At one point, I mentioned something that had happened years ago, something all three of us had been there for. Chloe hesitated, then smiled and said, "Oh yeah, that." But it wasn't right. It wasn't how she used to remember things. But I couldn't put my finger on it, so I tried to disregard it and moved on. The weeks passed, then months. Nothing felt too out of the ordinary, at least, nothing I could point out yet, until one night at Chloe's. We were in her kitchen, cooking like we used to. She was talking about something, but I wasn't really listening. I was watching her. I'd caught myself doing that a lot lately, looking for something I couldn't quite name. Then, mid-sentence, she faltered. Just slightly at first. She repeated a word, like she'd lost her place. Then, her eyes rolled back. Not naturally, not like someone fainting or blinking too hard. They spun, fast and unnatural, until there was nothing but white. For a second, that's all I could see. 2 blank whites staring straight through me. I screamed. And then, just like that, they snapped back. She blinked a few times, looking confused. "Sarah, oh my gosh, are you okay?" I couldn't speak. I just stared at her, my heart pounding so hard it hurt. I took a step back without meaning to. I stopped myself. What was I supposed to say? After a few moments, she laughed it off, said she felt dizzy for a second, low blood sugar or something. Everything seemed normal again, so I nodded and pretended to accept it. Then we went back to cooking. But my hands wouldn't stop shaking because I knew I hadn't imagined it, and deep down I already knew there was only one person who could explain it. I called Matt that night. It had been months since that night in the hotel, and I was surprised he even answered. At first, he avoided it, tried to brush it off, asked if I was sure or if maybe I'd just been tired. But there was something in my voice that gave me away. After a pause, he sighed. "Can we meet?" he said. "I'll explain properly." He came over later that evening. No small talk, no easing into it. The second he stepped inside, I turned to him. What happened on that island? He sat down and didn't answer straight away, but when he did, his voice was calm. Too calm. "Do you believe there are other versions of you, Sarah?" he asked. "Not really." I mean, yeah, who would believe that? No. "That's fair," he said. "Most people don't." He looked at me. "But there are versions where your life goes differently, depending on what decisions you make, right?" "Sure," I nodded. He took a breath and continued. "Some changes are small. You might end up with a different haircut. Others are bigger. You might live in a different place." I frowned but kept listening. "And some of those versions of you are not okay." My blood ran cold. "They're suffering," he continued, "in ways you can't imagine." "Matt, why are you telling me this?" "Because you need to understand what I did." "What you did?" He met my eyes. "The island. It's where they switch people." Silence. I waited for the punchline, but there was none. "The version of you that goes there doesn't come back." I swallowed. That is not funny. But his face was dead serious. Silence stretched between us again. "Then where are they?" I finally said, quieter. "Somewhere worse. Much worse." "And the people who come back?" I whispered. "They're from those other places, and not just any of those places. They're the versions of you that have suffered the most." "No. They take different versions of them from other timelines," he continued, "and swap them. Then they replace their memories so it all fits." "That's insane." "I know." He didn't sound fazed at all. I stood there, frozen, still trying to process all of it. "But why?" He paused and looked away for a second, like he was deciding how much to say. "Because every time it happens, it generates energy," he said. "A lot of it. More than anything else they've found." "And you what? Work for them?" He nodded. "Why would you tell me this?" My voice cracked. "Because I couldn't send you there." That hit harder than anything else. For a moment, he didn't say anything. Then he exhaled slowly, like he'd been holding it in for a long time. "I wasn't always part of this," he said. "I was on a trip to Thailand a few years back. Backpacking. One night I got taken. Wrong place, wrong time. No idea who they were. I just remember the pain, the blood, the screaming. It went on for weeks, every day from morning till night." He paused, as if recalling the horror of it. "And then one day it just stopped," he continued. "Not gradually. All of the sudden it was just gone, and I woke up somewhere else, clean, no injuries or pain." "Where?" I asked quietly. "A facility," he said. "Rooms full of people. They were unconscious, lying on beds. Thought it was a hospital at first." He shook his head. "One of the staff came over and explained it like it was nothing. Said those people were being processed. Their memories were being replaced so they'd match the versions of themselves from this world." I stared at him. "They told me what had happened," he went on. "That I'd been switched. The version of me that belonged here had gone to the island for the holiday. I took his place." My throat felt dry. "And they just told you that?" "They didn't care if I believed it," he said. "They gave me a choice." He paused briefly. "I could have my memories replaced like those people, live this version of my life like nothing ever happened, or I could keep my memories and know the truth." "And you chose," I began. "I chose to remember," he said, "but it came with a condition." He rubbed his forehead. "I had to work for them," he continued. "Recruitment. Minimum of 10 people every cycle. Why you? I asked the same thing, he said. They said I scored high on emotional intelligence and communication, and that I was mentally stable enough to function after what I'd been through. He gave a humorless smile. Apparently, that's rare. A chill ran through me. What I'd once found so endearing and real, his awkwardness, the way he stumbled over words, I couldn't help but question how much of it had actually been real. And if you don't? I asked. If I don't meet the quota, he said, I'm fired. That means they wipe my memories, replace them with ones from the version that was here. The one who was sent to Thailand in my place. Silence settled between us. So either I do this, he said quietly, or I let them take it all away and go back to not knowing any of this, like your friends. Then it all came rushing back. Chloe hesitating over memory she should have known instantly. Tyler reacting just a second too late. All the little things I'd try to ignore. Because they didn't make sense on their own, but together they did. They weren't them. I was looking at something wearing their faces, carrying their memories, while the real Tyler and Chloe had been sent somewhere far worse. It was my fault. I had convinced them to go. And if Matt hadn't told me to leave that night, that would have been me too. A cold, sinking feeling settled in my chest as another thought followed it. If you don't meet the quota, I said slowly, then your memories are replaced. That would make me the only one left who knew. And even then, would it matter? I only believed Matt because of everything I'd seen. The way that night played out, the look on his face, and the things I noticed afterward. The way Chloe's eyes went completely white. I thought about trying to explain all of this to anyone else. My family, the fake Chloe and Tyler, anyone at all, but I already knew how it would sound. Insane. No one would believe me. I looked at him. How many people? I asked quietly. How many have been switched? I don't know, he said. Then he looked back at me. But it's more than you think. That was the last time we really talked about it like that. After a while, it stopped being something we discussed and preferred to avoid. Life went on, and eventually, we got together. If I'm being honest, I didn't feel safe anymore without him. He was the only one who understood what had happened, the only one who knew. Nowadays, we still go to work, see friends, make plans. We still do everything we did before. I still see him come home in that jester costume, but it doesn't look ridiculous or even remotely funny anymore. Sometimes things start to feel normal again. I think we both try to believe that. As long as he meets that sales quota, which he always does, nothing changes. He's still my Matt, the same Matt I met that night handing out flyers, and he'll keep meeting it. He has to. Moral of the story, don't go to Thailand with a jester that you met on a sidewalk somewhere, because you won't be you anymore. Oh my gosh. The crazy part about this is that this could have happened. This could have happened to you, and you might just not know it. The next one's from r/scary stories from user MadHatter006. Take a walk with me. I want to chat with you. I want to tell you how I got away with murder. Do you love your family? Do you really? Think about it. Take a moment and walk with me. Family is forever. Family is a group of people that are supposed to love, guide, and protect you. So many people have said. Family is bound to you for eternity by blood. With how many people that had to come together to make you? Just you. You're drowning in blood, sweetie, and so am I. My family was on a different level of messed up. My father was a car salesman who got high off crack cocaine and screwed his coworker. Smiling in the faces of his neighbors who whisper about his sexuality behind his back, while he's thinking he has everyone fooled. Idiot. My mother wasn't innocent. In fact, she was worse than my dad. To everyone else, she was the unassuming second-grade teacher who went to church every Sunday and attended a book club with her friends. Liar. She was horrible. A righteous bitch who would get friendly with her brother after her husband went to sleep. Beat me with her precious brown leather Bible in hand whenever I took too long doing the dishes. She would lock me in the basement for hours and hours. She once left me in there from the crack of dawn to the middle of the night. And when she let me out, she smiled in my face and told me, I honestly forgot you were there. I begged for food, but she told me it was too late to cook, and she shouldn't have to waste food on me. Waste. My older brother got the better treatment from my family. My father and mother didn't beat him like they would beat me. They didn't starve him like they would starve me. He stayed in his room on his computer, shirtless sometimes, while he talked smoothly to some man or woman on the other side of his camera. The money he got for his cam sessions got him weed, white rum, and a car that he didn't have a license for. Bought secondhand from a friend from somewhere in Chicago. Regardless of the law, he would take it out on practice. He didn't care for my curled up, screaming, and scared self, who he threw into the trunk of his car. He would drive around for hours and speed up when he saw a speed bump in the road. Then laugh as he heard me cry in pain. That's how I broke my arm. This was all before I turned 7, just so you have a better image of how messed up this story gets. Are you ready? It was a cool Tuesday afternoon. My backyard was covered in leaves. Orange, yellow, red. I had just turned 15 and it was the middle of autumn. I was alone as I sat on the back porch steps. Not just alone on the steps, but there was no one else home. It was so peaceful. The kind of peace you wish would never go away. But good things never last long, do they? I could hear my mother's heels clicking up the sidewalk as she got to the house. Her loud laughter let me know she was on the phone, and she only ever genuinely liked talking to one person on the phone, my uncle. With her keys jingling in the lock, it was such a smooth transition for me to close the back door and hop up to my room. My house had no pictures. The walls weren't ever decorated with anything, and I always smelled of something foul. No one in this house ever thought to make memories. Everyone was too busy trying to forget. But forget what? It's not like they've been suffering. I've been the lightning rod for them as long as I've been breathing, but there's no pity for me, just abuse. Passing my brother's room, it now had the permanent smell of weed and burnt rubber. I made sure to move quickly and quietly when I passed his room. His attention on me was never good, as I've learned over the years. How do you explain to someone that you've created tactics to move around your own house, just so you won't have to be noticed by your family? All for the sake of your own safety, your life. How do you explain that? You can't. Or at least, that's what you're taught when you're young. Your mother scolding you for tattling and telling you to keep your mouth shut. Whatever happens in the family stays in the family. Snitches get stitches, my brother would say. I hated my brother. I would always have to escape to my room whenever they came home. I would always have to hide, listening carefully at the door for anyone in the hall so I could run to the bathroom without being noticed. Watching which floorboard I stepped on at night on my way to the kitchen. Sleeping with my alarm clock under my pillow to get an earlier start so I could avoid everyone else. Taking showers at the break of dawn where everyone was still too deep in sleep to be disturbed by the sound of spraying water. When they were home, there was no such thing as peace, but I'll get to the point. That Tuesday night was the night that my worldview changed entirely. Humans are naturally wired for survival. You do what you must to keep breathing, but you can only handle so much before you snap. My mother had decided to throw a party. It started from the middle of the afternoon and went on into the late night. My father, mother, and brother all sat in the living room with our neighbors, and looking at them, you could almost trick yourself into believing they were perfectly normal. They laughed, smiling politely, and entertained their guests as everyone drank and ate gross goat cheese on saltine crackers. But of course, I knew better. My father wasn't fooling anyone with that long sleeve he was wearing. He was trying to hide the point of entry, all while looking sleep-deprived and waifish. The veins at the side of his forehead were bulging with the need to run to the bathroom and just do one more line. To get through the evening and I'll quit. My mother's liver was going out. She was once skinny with gentle curves, like a supermodel if she twisted her body in the mirror long enough to fool herself. Now she was as bloated as a whale, none of her clothes fit, and she had to go out and buy a new wardrobe. My uncle's sitting next to her, but he entertained her neighbor from next door instead, laughing flirtatiously and laying his hand on her knee. Our neighbor flirted back with him, tossing her hair over her shoulder and batting her lashes. Our neighbor was married to a Marine, and my brother, sitting with his friends, all drinking beer and talking as if they had nothing to talk about. None of them had jobs, none of them had families to take care of, none of them had shit to do with their lives except mooch off their parents. They could only talk about memories from high school, which quickly got them bored. Then they were reduced to only sitting in silence while everyone else talked to them about their own lives. I sat in my room, avoiding them all. Those idiots, sadists, adulterers, and liars. Every one of them is the next person's paramour in one way or another. By the time the party had died, it was 12 o'clock. I knew it wouldn't be a good night based on how hard my mother stomped up the steps. I saw from my window, my uncle escaping to my neighbor's house, his hand on her butt as she giggled drunkenly. My mother has fell out of favor. Funny. She screamed my name and demanded that I come down and clean up her mess. Moving down the hall to my room, it was like a horror movie, her slow steps moving closer and closer to my door. My arms folded over the windows as I took in the cold night air. I can still remember the feel of the wind on my face. My door was thrown open by my mother, her long hair hanging in front of her face as she desperately held on to her wine glass. She stumbled and swayed in the doorway. Her eyes couldn't even find me. She yelled for me to come down and clean up her mess again, my brother yelling from his room for her to shut up. As I looked at her, as I watched her, I got this strange feeling, a feeling that could only be described as sadistic, but also empty at the same time. It was like a dying candle in the wind, a wind that just kept on coming. Her eyes found mine, and she stumbled into the room as she took a sip from her wine glass. She called my name, and when I didn't respond, that began an onslaught of insults and threats. The same insults and threats that I've heard for all of the time I'd been under her care. It wasn't anything new. Her mocking, taunting, vicious insults were nothing new to me anymore. The wind stopped, and the light on the candle flickered back to life, with plenty of wax left. It was like a wave of clean, fresh water was thrown on me. I stood up, my eyes scanning her blubbery form from her heel to the crown of her head. She did just the same, mocking me as the wine in her glass sloshed around, provoking me with her words. My brother screamed from his room for both of us to be quiet. Fine, I'll make her be quiet. I lunged quickly, pushing her onto the floor. Her size betrayed her. She was too big now to move quickly. She struggled to stand as I calmly walked to my bedroom door and locked it. Her wine glass had fell out of her hand, and the cup broke. The smell of Riesling coated the dull brown carpet, mixing in evenly with the foul smell of the house. One tall shard of glass laid near my feet. I picked it up and made my way over to my mother. The candle was burning bright now that the wind had finally stopped. An easy slit across her throat prevented her from screaming, too. The shard cut my own fingers as I made myself into a butcher for my pig of a mother. I had felt this wave of ease come over me as I stood over her now mutilated body. I heard my brother's door open. With every step he took to get to my room, memories flashed behind my eyelids. His abuse and torment, his cruelty, every step brought a new memory back, and soon enough he was banging at my door. There weren't enough steps to match how many times he'd broken my arm or fractured my ribs. There weren't enough steps to match how many hours a day I'd spend in the darkness of his trunk. I'd remember the summer, in the darkness, him zooming over a speed bump, me hitting my head and blacking out. He threw me on the front lawn when we got home. Didn't even bother to take me inside, but instead left me under the bleeding hot sun. Watching as my mother's body emptied out her blood, soaking into the carpet as her face is fitted perfectly in a look of pain and fear. Strangely enough, it's the prettiest she's ever looked. My brother continued to bang on the door, banging continuously, and demanded that I open the door. So I did. And I delivered the same gruesome death to him too, a slit across his throat. But instead of cutting him open, I beat him until every bone I could get to break was broken, stomping on his arms and legs hard with my foot. I'd taken a page from his book and aimed for the most vital areas. The wind stayed down. I dragged the shard of glass on the wall, cutting into the dirty blue wallpaper. Then I noticed something. I didn't hear my father come up the steps, nor did he complain about the noise my mother was making. I searched the house for him, just to see if he was even home, passing through the living room that was messy with cheap wine and gross snacks. Pillows thrown about and furniture moved across the room to make space for a dance area. I saw the guest bathroom light on. The door was cracked open and I could see a shadow. I got close to the bathroom and saw the dirty brown loafers my father wore. Then his legs that were stretched out in front of him that almost peeked out the door. Pushing open the door, I saw his body laying there against the sink. A lighter sat bent by his knee, a burnt spoon in one hand and a syringe still jammed in his left arm. His tie was laying crumpled up next to the lighter, and he wasn't breathing. It was bound to happen sooner or later. How convenient that it should be now. I left him there. The state of his own demise should be left alone. It's the only thing he had in his final moments: weakness and addiction. I made my way out the open back door, kicking it closed with my foot, walking around the side of the house as I wiped off my fingerprints from the shard of glass. I made my way over to the neighbor's house. She didn't even have the decency to close her living room curtains. You could probably guess what was happening there. If she only knew where this pig had been before. I threw the shard of glass into her rose bushes and continued on down the sidewalk. I'm sure you're wondering now what happened. Did the police find me? Where did I run to? Do I feel guilty? Sweetheart, it made national news. It was everywhere. A brother had killed his sister and her entire family after a night of partying with her neighbors. The weapon was found in the rose bushes of a neighbor's of his sister's just across the street from the house they were murdered in. Both their faces were plastered on the 5 o'clock news. He pled his innocence, but texts between him and his sister were leaked and their incestuous relationship was revealed to the public. The neighbor wasn't off the hook either. The police guessed he killed them out of rage and jealousy sometime after the party and went to go make a victim of the adulterous neighbor lady. It's amazing how easily people can be fooled. It's also amazing how easily someone can obtain a fake ID, a fake birth certificate, and a fake passport. Cutting hair is easy as well. Isn't that what people do anyways when they want to feel like a new person? Now for the last question. Do I feel guilty? No, absolutely not. In fact, during the whole ordeal, from pushing my mother to the floor to walking off into the night, the only thing I could feel was relief. It's the feeling of being raised in a cage and then finally breaking free. Sweet, sweet freedom. So no, I don't feel the slightest bit guilty. Never even for the neighbor lady who made a stupid decision and cheated with the wrong man. I do not feel guilty. Besides, if you had the chance to kill your demons, I'm sure you would do the same. You're already drowning in blood. What's the difference if you spill more? This sounds real. That was a really good story, and I guess you could say that when someone's pushed to that limit where they break, anything can happen. The next story is from r/scary stories from Trash Tia. They finally found a cure for bullying. A year ago, Crystal Schuyler, a well-known celebrity streamer, took her own life in front of 50,000 viewers after detailing her harassment. Her video went viral, parents across the nation coming to a grim conclusion. Their children were corrupted, poisoned, evil, and needed to be fixed. So a streamer died, and we were all paying the consequences. Officially, it was called the Social Alignment Program, created for the sole purpose of smoothing us down, removing the parts of us that judged, that looked down on people, that insisted on hierarchy. Crystal's video didn't just go viral, it gave the government an incentive to cut out bullying once and for all. Literally. I really didn't want a detailed explanation of what the procedure involved, but it was law to explain it to a child. So I was forced to sit through half an hour of quirky government-sponsored YouTube videos featuring influencers telling me that my brain was going to be cut open. The thing was, I never bullied anyone. I did tease kids. I called Jesse Harlow a stuck-up bitch in 8th grade. I shoved Sam Holland into a classroom because my friends thought it was funny, but I wasn't, right? Bullying was worse. Bullying wasn't me. I judged my peers, yes, but we all did. Once we were self-aware, we immediately began judging everything around us. I judged myself. I judged my parents, my siblings, my teachers. I laughed at their stupid hair, their lisps, the way they spoke slowly, their clothes, if their parents weren't rich, their phones, if they didn't have the latest model. But wasn't that what being a kid was? Wasn't bullying just natural? Sitting in an uncomfortable chair, my wrists were gently pinned down. The room was clinical white. The chair was ice cold. Uncomfortable leather. I didn't like it. The device was kind of like a halo. It descended from the ceiling and settled over my skull, coming apart like a vice and gripping my entire head. My reflection in the equipment mirror stared back at me, a trembling 17-year-old trying to stay calm. Allison, the nurse gestured for me to lean forward and rest my chin on another piece of equipment, placing my head between spinning metal structures, a blinding white light piercing my right eye. I wasn't alone. Across the room, a boy sat cross-legged on an observation bed, arms folded. I recognized him. He used to push kids into lockers and threaten teachers. Whenever a nurse came near him, he started screaming. "I have rights," he kept repeating in an almost hysterical giggle. "You can't do this to me, because I have rights." Smoothing was mandatory, so whether he liked it or not, it was going to happen. He shot me a disgusted glare, lip curled like I willingly slumped into the murder chair. Like I wasn't held at gunpoint and dragged to the procedure room. The boy was panicking, sweat clinging to his head, thick glued over his eyes. I watched him dive off the observation bed, sprinting out of the room while his nurse filled an IV. Part of me cheered him on. The rest of me thought he was a moron. I tried extremely hard not to notice them thrumming to life, foam discs immediately pressing pressure against my temples. "Okay, Allison, can you look straight forward, please?" The nurse instructed from behind a pale blue mask. I pretended I couldn't see her smug smile in the folds. "Directly at the bright flash, and try not to blink, all right? You're doing so well, sweetie, so brave." I couldn't choke back my cry, my eyes stinging, the bright light pulsing. "I want my mom," I whispered, trying to pull my head back, but my skull was already stuck between thrumming metal. "Please." I gave up trying to be brave, trying to accept it. My entire body trying to fling me backward. "Let me go," I screamed, thrashing at Velcro restraints pinning my wrists. "Let me go. I want to go home. I want to go home right now." All of the anger, the agony, the frustration at my parents ignited, exploding from my mouth in a vicious string of incomprehensible word barf. Mom didn't want me to have the procedure. She thought it would kill me. Dad said he wanted me to have it. He refused to have a bully for a daughter. "Relax, Allison," the nurse cooed from behind the structure. "We're almost there." Her voice faded in and out as sharp pain scratched the back of my head, deeper, like it was digging through my brain, picking me apart piece by piece. "Why don't we talk about your favorite thing, huh? Children undergoing alignment tend to respond better when they're engaged." I swallowed thickly, and that sharp scratch became a lightning bolt rattling my skull. I could no longer blink, my body paralyzed. "Allison," the nurse hummed. "Can you try to say something?" Another pulsing light erupted in front of my eyes. "Speak, Allison," the nurse instructed. "We need to know the smoothing has been successful." I blinked again, sensation flooding back, but not a normal sensation. The machine crushing my skull was barely an afterthought. The giant needle sticking into the back of my head didn't feel real. "Yes," I said, and the machine was turned off. I was free, the metal structures prying from my temples. The nurse gently led me back to the chair. I didn't feel cold anymore. I didn't really feel like anything. The nurse wore a wide smile, tying a bracelet around my wrist. Her gloved hands were still covered in my blood. "That's just to tell your parents you've had the procedure," she hummed, shoving paperwork in my face. "You may experience side effects, but they'll wear off in the next 24 hours. Nausea and vomiting are common after the smoothing, but do come back to us if you experience any of the following: nosebleeds, headaches, and using sudden profanity and expletive language." I nodded, smiling. "Yes, thank you." The nurse grinned back. "No, thank you." She ruffled my hair. "Don't you feel so much better, Allison?" I strode toward the door, pulled it open, and accidentally trapped my finger in the hinge. The nurse turned pale, her eyes widening. "Oh my goodness," she stared at my throbbing thumb. I knew the pain was there, I knew it existed, but I was numb. Strange. Foggy thoughts. I should have screamed. I should have cried, but I was fine. The nurse pulled back her mask. "Allison, are you all right?" "Yes," I said, smiling again. "I'm fine." I was fine. Everything was fine. I walked home in the rain, but I didn't feel it soaking through my clothes. Mom threw away all the paperwork I gave her and slapped me across the face. "You're no daughter of mine," she snarled, like I was a stranger, prodding the bandage around my skull. "You're a shell of her." That was fine. Days collapsed into a blur of nothing. Hours, minutes, days, weeks, months. My bedroom ceiling was gray when I opened my eyes. The sky was gray. Flowers were gray. Ice cream tasted like cardboard. Looking at someone was gray. Talking to them in gray. Every time Mom insulted and screamed at me was gray. When I visited my aunt, she showed me a picture of a political figure, laughing. Oh my God, look at the state of his hair. I wasn't sure why she was laughing. To me, the person looked fine. The world grew silent. In class, every student sat and listened and kept their heads down. The teachers called us well-behaved angels. At lunch, the same boy from the procedure room bumped into me in the cafeteria. Sorry, he smiled. I noticed the bandage wrapped around his head. Burns staining his temples, half-lidded, unblinking eyes. He was still trembling. The trauma of the procedure affecting his body while his mind was a vacant nothing. That was my fault. It's okay, I said, and walked away. Then I bumped into him again, outside the girls' bathroom. Sorry, he smiled. That was my fault. I smiled back. It's okay. And then the next day, heading to gym class, he shouldered past me a little harder, elbowing me in the eye. Pain struck. Nuclear pain. Real pain that was so real, so visceral, my legs gave way, sending me crashing to the floor, my mouth opening, a raw screech suffocating my throat. I swallowed it down like vomit. Blinking back dancing lights flashed behind my eyelids. I managed to glimpse him through flickering lashes and caught a single flash of color among the suffocating grayscale. I never realized his nose was bleeding. Sorry, the boy apologized as usual, but he didn't walk away this time. I stood, I blinked. The world was still gray, still dull. It's okay, I smiled. Oh, really? The boy's lip curled slightly, one brow raised. Again, color exploded, vivid and beautiful. The most beautiful shade of red decorated his lips and chin. He wound his fist back and swung it directly into my face. I screamed this time. Numbness became freeing. Feeling became sensation. Sensation became emotion, and this time, pain was glorious, filthy, agonizing. Blood ran from my own nose, hot and wet. So wet, I traced each rivulet sliding down the curve of my throat. The boy stepped in front of me, lips curved, nostrils flaring. His eyes were different, frenzied, flicking back and forth. Are you okay? His voice held an unmistakable tone of mockery. I straightened up, swiping blood from my face with my sleeve. It's fine, I said, smiled, and then realized I was grimacing. I'm fine. I turned to walk away, a dull, throbbing pain striking the back of my head, and he shoved me, again, harder. Something ignited in my bones, my thoughts short-circuiting. It was right and wrong, and feral, twisting my stoic lips into a scowl. Prick. The name spluttered from my lips in a hiss, carried by blood filling my mouth, and then I couldn't stop myself. I gagged my mouth, but my lips were already moving, already in control. Watch where you're going. Something hot drew me to him, my body twitching. Are you blind? He smiled. I shoved him, choking on hysterical giggles. You look like a toe. He punched me in the face again. I enjoyed the sting. I enjoyed the way my head swung back, my jaw clicking out of place. I enjoyed the blood running down my face. I hate your ponytail, he spat, giggling. Somehow I was nose to nose with him, my skin on fire, my breath stuck in my throat. Something hot and rich filled my nose, intoxicating me. Well, I hate your face, I snapped back, reveling in his breaths tickling my face. You're a little twerp. He grinned. Oh yeah? I wrapped my arms around his waist, pulling him closer. I ran my lips across his neck, a shiver sliding down my spine. Yeah, I said, and ripped his throat out, but his teeth were already piecing mine. His giggles were muffled, manic, as he burrowed into me, and a part of me, this feral, animalistic part of me, squealed in delight. His blood running down my throat, his flesh stuck between my teeth. They should have just gotten us counseling. All right, lesson learned. Get the kids counseling. Don't take away the part of them that makes them human, because then they'll just turn into animals. Anyways, that's all the scary Reddit stories in Minecraft I have for you today. I feel like the stories we read today were really good. But we're also on Spotify now. It's going to be in the description. If you like the video, drop a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.